AITA for refusing to bail out my dad financially and embarrassing him in front of the family? I refused to give my dad thousands of euros without knowing why, and now he's blocked me. The whole family is yelling at me, and I'm the villain in a drama I never asked to be part of. I, 26M, thought my relationship with my dad, Leonardo, was complicated but functional. We weren't close, but we weren't distant either. We had a routine. Lunch at random places when he felt like catching up. Occasional calls. Polite, surface-level conversations. Nothing deep, but never hostile. The kind of relationship where you assume things are fine because nobody is throwing dishes at each other. Last Monday shattered that. He called me at 7 in the morning. My alarm hadn't even gone off yet. I jolted awake because he never calls at that time. I thought someone died. As soon as I picked up, he sounded frantic. His voice was shaky, like he was trying not to yell or cry. He said, "I need 4,500 today. It's urgent." I wouldn't ask if I had any other option. No greeting, no explanation, no build-up. Just a demand for thousands of euros before sunrise. I sat up in bed, trying to make sense of it. I asked what happened. Not even aggressively. Just normal. Just trying to understand. He snapped, "It's complicated. It's not something I want to get into. Just do this for me." I told him the truth. I don't have 4,500 lying around. I work a normal job. I pay rent. I pay bills. I pay student loans. I have an emergency fund that I've been building slowly and painfully, and giving him that much would wipe it out to zero. He immediately switched from panic to icy. "You're young. You'll recover." I never thought my own son would turn his back on me after everything I did. Parents sacrifice for their kids, but apparently not the other way around. I told him I could help with a small amount, maybe a couple hundred, but I couldn't give him thousands with no explanation. He hung up. Not even a goodbye. Just a click. From that moment, he shut me out. He ignored every call. He left one of my texts on scene for hours before deleting his online status. He skipped my grandmother's birthday dinner because I was there. Everyone noticed he wasn't there, and I got the side eye all night. Then my uncle messaged me saying I had humiliated my father by refusing him in his moment of need. My uncle told me that a son refusing a parent was disgusting and selfish. He said I could have prevented all of this if I had just done my duty. I didn't hold back. I told him straight. My duty isn't giving someone thousands of euros without a single explanation. That's not duty, that's stupidity. He flipped. "Don't you dare talk to me like that. You don't understand what he's carrying on his shoulders." I said, "Then tell me what he's carrying, because he sure as hell hasn't told me." He logged off WhatsApp after that. Later that night, my older cousin told me that my dad asked for other relatives before me, and they all said no. Every single one. And now he expects me to step up and restore the family honor. I laughed when she said that. I genuinely couldn't help it. Restore what? Honor doesn't vanish because someone doesn't hand over thousands of euros with zero context. This isn't the 18th century. It's money. It's responsibility. It's transparency. The family group chat exploded the next day. Half of them were on his side, lecturing me nonstop. "He's your father. Help him. Money comes back. Respect doesn't. You're acting like a stranger, not a son." The other half said things like, "Something isn't right with this. Why is he being so secretive? If he can't say what the money is for, he shouldn't be asking for it." There was no calm discussion. It was chaos. At one point, my aunt wrote, "Your father is ashamed to show his face because of you." I wrote back, "I'm ashamed to be related to anyone who thinks financial blackmail is normal." She went off on me, calling me disrespectful, ungrateful, and immature. She said I had humiliated an entire branch of the family. I snapped. Humiliation is a grown man begging for thousands and refusing to say why. Humiliation is manipulating your family because you can't handle your life. I'm not part of that circus. She stopped responding. My grandmother called me the next morning asking why everyone was yelling. She sounded tired. She said I should just apologize so things would calm down. I told her I wasn't apologizing for refusing to be used like an ATM machine. Then she whispered that she heard him talking to someone about them taking the car if he doesn't pay. She didn't know who they were. That's when I realized this wasn't a normal emergency. He didn't want help. He wanted money. He wanted silence. He wanted me to trust him blindly after he refused to explain anything. And he wanted to blame me when I did. Update 1. I hadn't heard from him for days. Nothing. No calls. No texts. No passive-aggressive messages through family members. Just complete silence. Then suddenly, around midnight, my phone buzzed. I saw his name on my lock screen and genuinely felt my stomach drop. I thought maybe he was finally ready to talk like a normal person. It wasn't a call. It wasn't a message. It was a voice note, 3 seconds long. I hit play. He said, "You caused this." And that was it. He didn't even breathe. Just those words and then cut off. I replayed it so many times times trying to figure out what the hell he meant. The tone wasn't angry yelling. It was low, cold, like he was blaming me for something catastrophic that I still don't know about. I replied immediately, asking what he meant, if he was safe, what was going on, if he needed help that wasn't money. No response. He didn't even open the messages after that. A few hours later, my cousin Marco called me out of nowhere. He normally only calls me when he wants to borrow my tools or complain about work, so when he was calling after midnight, I knew something had happened. He sounded stressed, not panicked, but like he was holding something back. He said, "Your dad showed up at Aunt Louise's." He was yelling, like really yelling. Apparently, my dad went there earlier that evening and demanded the money again, even though she said no the first time. Marco said he could hear the shouting from outside the house when he was walking up the driveway. My dad was going off about being abandoned, about how the family had turned their backs on him, and he specifically said, "My own son decided to shame me. Louisa is now pissed at me. She called me right after Marco talked to me and started scolding me like I was 12. She didn't even ask for my side. She just jumped straight into it. She said, 'Do you understand what you've done to him? He came here begging. Do you know how humiliating that is for him? He's emotionally destroyed, and you're his son. This is your responsibility.' I told her, 'I don't owe anyone $4,500 without even knowing what it's for.' She yelled back, 'If he wanted you to know, he'd tell you.' I finally lost it. I yelled too. I said, 'Then maybe he should act like a father and not some scammer refusing to explain anything.' She got offended immediately, like I insulted the Pope. She said I was disrespectful, cruel, ungrateful, selfish, immature, deliberately hurting my father, embarrassing the family name, and that she was disappointed I turned out this way. I snapped again. I said, 'I don't give money to someone who treats me like I'm stupid. And if your pride is worth more to you than my financial stability, that's your problem, not mine.' She shouted over me so loudly that her phone microphone cut in and out. I shouted right back because I'm not letting anyone scream at me like I'm a child. The whole argument sounded like something out of a bad family drama. She said, 'If our family falls apart, it's because of you.' I said, 'Your family fell apart long before I said no to a mystery bill.' She slammed the phone down on me. 10 minutes later, I got 3 missed calls from her, 2 from my uncle, and 4 notifications from the family group chat. I didn't answer anything. When I finally opened the chat, it was basically a pile of complaints all aimed at me. People I haven't talked to in months were suddenly typing long messages about respect and family duty. My uncle wrote this dramatic speech telling everyone that some people forget where they came from, and Leonardo is suffering because of betrayal from within. I wrote one message and one message only. If somebody wants to tell me what the money is actually for, maybe we can talk. But yelling at me won't magically make $4,500 appear in my bank account. That set them off again. My cousin Julia said I needed to fix what I broke. My aunt said I cost my father his dignity. Someone else claimed my dad had been crying at her house, which is interesting because he apparently also cried at Luisa's house. He must be doing a neighborhood tour at this point. I finally said, I'm not responsible for his meltdown. I'm responsible for my finances. If any of you want to send him $4,500 without asking questions, go ahead. I'm not doing it. I got hit with another wave of insults. People calling me ungrateful, selfish, arrogant, dramatic, manipulative. I told one of them, you're all talk. If you care so much, send him the money yourself. They didn't like that at all. My phone was ringing nonstop until almost 3 in the morning. I muted everyone. But the part that messed with my head the most was this. Marco told me that he asked his mother, and she said she has no idea what the money is for. She said my dad refused to tell her as well. He told her the same thing he told me. It's complicated. So either nobody knows, or everyone knows but refuses to tell me because they think I'll react badly. I honestly don't know what to believe anymore because everyone is acting like they're hiding something. But right now, all I know is this. My dad sent me a 3-second voice message blaming me for something I still don't understand. My aunt thinks I destroyed my father emotionally. My family is turning this into a giant war, and I'm still the only one being pressured to pay for something nobody will name. Update 2. I woke up this morning to a missed call from my grandmother, which instantly made my stomach drop because she is the one person in the entire family who refuses to participate in drama. She doesn't take sides, she doesn't gossip, she doesn't meddle. If she calls, something is off. So I called her back, and before I could even say hello properly, she went, I think you deserve to know what's going on. I overheard your father talking on the phone. He said, if I don't pay, they'll take the car. That was it. No context, no explanation, just that single sentence. But honestly, it told me more than he has said to me in 2 weeks. He's in debt, and And not a small oops. Forgot to pay the electric bill debt. The kind of debt where someone is threatening to repossess something. And that something is his car. His 2019 BMW he absolutely cannot afford. The same car he bragged about for months. The same car he told everyone he deserved after years of sacrificing for the family. The same car whose insurance alone is higher than some people's rent. And now he's desperate. And instead of telling me the truth, explaining the situation, or even attempting to own up to his choices, he decided his best strategy was manipulating me, guilt-tripping me, and sending half the family to attack me like I'm the one who caused this crisis. But here's where things got messy, because after that call, I made the mistake of checking my phone. 23 WhatsApp messages in 1 hour. All from family. Not one asking how I'm doing. Not one asking for my side. Not one trying to understand anything. No, it was all, you're abandoning your father in a time of need. You're acting like you're better than everyone. Your father is ashamed of how you're treating him. You should learn respect. Money has changed you. And my personal favorite from my aunt. If you don't want to be part of this family, just say it. That one made me see red. Because I haven't asked anyone in this family for a single thing. Not one loan. Not one favor. Nothing. I've been working non-stop, studying non-stop, and the one time I say no to something unreasonable, suddenly I'm the villain destroying the family name. So I called my aunt. She answered already annoyed, like she was preparing a speech. Before she could start, I said, "Do not ever text me talking about respect when you don't know a single thing about what's going on." She tried to interrupt me 3 times, and every single time I talked over her, because I was done, absolutely done, being the quiet, reasonable one. "You want to yell?" I said. "Great, let's yell. But you better be ready to hear everything." She started shouting about family duty and parents' sacrifice for their children. I shouted back that my dad refused to tell me anything, tried to use guilt instead of words, and had the entire family harassing me before he even explained why he needed the money in the first place. She yelled that it wasn't my business why he's in debt. I yelled that it absolutely is if he's trying to use my income to pay for it. She yelled that I was being dramatic. I yelled that she should stop pretending she's a victim when she's not the one being asked for money. At some point, she said something like, "You're acting like you're special." And I snapped. I said, "Maybe I am special. At least I'm not begging my kid for cash to save a car I couldn't afford." She went silent for a full 5 seconds, then hung up on me. And of course, 5 minutes later, I discovered I had been added to a brand new family group chat with a name like "We Need to Talk," which is ironic because nobody wants to talk. They want a lecture. My cousin, who I barely speak to, jumped in first, saying things like, "You shouldn't talk to your elders that way. It's your dad's car. He can buy whatever he wants. You're ungrateful." So I finally responded, "If any of you are so concerned about his car, send him money." Problem solved. The group went silent except for one uncle who wrote, "You owe him." I wrote back, "I don't owe anyone a cent." Then I left the chat. Instantly, my phone lit up with angry messages from people who apparently had nothing to say until I left. Update 3. Today was the complete implosion of the family group chat, the one my aunt insists on calling Famiglia forever, even though everyone in it clearly hates each other most of the year. Someone changed the group photo to an old picture from a barbecue where half the people in it aren't even speaking anymore. This chat should honestly be illegal. It started at 9:14 a.m. I woke up to 47 missed notifications. At first, I thought someone died. No, even worse, they were talking about me. The first message I saw was from my Uncle Johnny. "Your father says you don't care about him." True. No hello. No good morning. Just straight up accusation. I replied, "What are you even talking about?" He immediately sent, "You know exactly. A father asks for help and you turn your back. Shameful." And then my Aunt Serena jumped in with, "A family is measured by loyalty. If your father is suffering, you must step in. This new generation doesn't understand sacrifice." That's when I felt my blood pressure go up. I didn't even want to respond yet, but then my dad's sister, Eva, added, "I can't believe Leonardo raised a son so cold. He never asks for anything. Never." I saw red. I wrote back, "He asked 5 people before me. Everyone said no. Why am I suddenly the villain because I didn't magically cough up thousands of euros I don't even have?" Silence. Then 6 typing bubbles at once. Then chaos. "My Aunt Louisa, you embarrassed him. That's why he's not speaking. Everyone knows you hurt him." I said, "I hurt him by not giving him money for something he still refuses to explain? That's not how this works." Then my uncle shot back, "Watch your tone." I lost it. I wrote, "I'll watch my tone when everyone stops acting like I'm a walking ATM." Immediately, another storm of messages. "Serena, your father sacrificed so much for you." I responded, "Name one thing. Just one. And don't say he's your father, like that's automatically a qualifying statement." People started leaving the chat. For real. I watched the notifications pop up. Alessio left the group. Marta left the group. Even the passive-aggressive cousin who never talks left. Then Johnny wrote, "You're ungrateful." That's the truth. And I said, "If you you call me ungrateful again, say it to my face. I'm done with this martyr nonsense. Dead silence. Then, because this family apparently cannot resist making things worse, my cousin Carlo jumped in out of nowhere and wrote, "If you had any pride, you would have helped your father before letting him go begging to everyone else." I replied, "Oh, shut up, Carlo. You're 34 and still streaming video games full-time while living off your mother. Don't talk to me about pride." That one hit. He left the chat instantly. 2 minutes later, I got angry WhatsApp voice notes from his mother saying I had no right to humiliate her son. I didn't listen to them. I didn't care. Then everything escalated again in the main chat. My Aunt Serena wrote, "You owe your father respect." I wrote, "Respect isn't a blank check." Then someone, still no idea who, added my dad into the chat again. He didn't type anything. He didn't say anything. He just reacted to my last message with the little thumbs down. That was it. A thumbs down. After days of ignoring me, refusing to explain anything, trash-talking me to relatives, starting a family civil war, he joins the chat and leaves a reaction like a sulking teenager. I type, "You can thumbs down all you want. I'm not paying your secret debt." He left the chat instantly. Then everyone piled on me again. "This is your fault. You pushed him too far. You're making things worse. You should be ashamed." I snapped. I wrote, "I'm ashamed to be related to people who think bullying someone for money is normal." That shut the entire chat down for a bit. Half the people stopped responding. The other half went into private messages trying to guilt trip me one-on-one. "You were rude. You escalated it. You should apologize. You need to fix this." Then, out of the blue, my cousin Elena DM'd me privately. "They're putting all the pressure on you because they're scared if they don't, your dad will turn on them next. Don't fold. They're using you as a shield." Honestly, that lined up with everything. Because the thing I realized today is that none of them care about the truth or fairness or whether I actually have the money. They care that if I don't give him money, he'll keep bothering them. I'm the youngest. I'm the easiest to guilt. I'm the most financially vulnerable. I'm the most pressured. So they all want me to take the hit. Not out of love, out of convenience. And as much as it pissed me off, it also made things make sense in the ugliest possible way. But the day wasn't even over. Because around 6 p.m., my dad posted something cryptic on Facebook. "Disappointment cuts deepest when it comes from your own blood." No name attached, no explanation. But every relative immediately started commenting things like, "Stay strong. Some children forget who raised them. Family trials are painful." So now I'm being dragged on Facebook too. Multiple relatives posted vague statuses. My aunt posted something like, "People show their true character in moments of need." My uncle posted, "Sad to see the youth so self-centered. No values left." My name wasn't in any of these, but the timing was obvious. A distant cousin messaged me on Instagram, "What did you do to your dad? Everyone is talking." And I said, "I told him no." She answered, "You always had a sharp mouth." I said, "And you always had nothing useful to say." She blocked me. Update 4. He called out of nowhere this afternoon. No warning, no text, no missed call first. Just suddenly ringing, like he had been staring at his screen for 20 minutes trying to work himself up to press the button and finally snap. When I saw his name pop up, I froze for a second. It felt like someone slapped my chest. I almost didn't answer. The last time he spoke to me, he made it painfully clear that as far as he was concerned, our relationship was on pause until I magically produced thousands of euros out of nowhere and handed it to him like a donation to some secret cause he still refuses to explain. But I answered, and the second I heard his voice, I knew something was wrong. He didn't even say hello. No hey, no listen, no breathing pause. Just launched straight into it like he was continuing a conversation I never started. His voice sounded wrong. Not shaky, not sad. Cold, stripped of any warmth. Like he had rehearsed the tone he wanted before calling me. And the version he finally used wasn't even my dad anymore. Just someone wearing his voice. He said, "So, are you enjoying yourself? You like making a fool out of me." I swear the first thing that came out of my mouth wasn't anger. It was confusion. Pure confusion. The kind where you blink a few times because the words don't even line up with reality. I said, "What are you talking about?" And that's when he snapped. No build-up, no breathing room, no attempt at explanation. He just detonated. He started yelling so loud, I had to pull the phone away from my ear. He said I'd been talking behind his back, that I ruined his reputation, that I turned the whole family against him, and that everyone now saw my true colors. He said he always suspected I'd grow up ungrateful, that I acted like I was too good for everyone, and that I had no respect for what he sacrificed. It was like he had a list prepared. He kept going and going without giving me 1 second to defend myself. He was talking over himself. I didn't even recognize him anymore. So I finally yelled back. I'm not proud that I raised my voice, but at that point, he was screaming at me like I had committed a crime. I yelled, "I'm not giving you thousands of euros when you refuse to tell me what it's for. Nobody would. Stop trying to guilt trip me." He didn't even let me finish. He started talking over me, louder, faster, like he was trying to bury my words under his. He called me spoiled. He called me dramatic. dramatic. He accused me of being obsessed with money. He said I cared more about a bank account than my own father and that I was heartless. I yelled, "How can I care about someone who treats me like an ATM?" There was silence, a weird, heavy silence. A full 2 seconds where I swear I could hear him breathing like he was physically shaking. The kind of breathing people do when they're holding in anger so badly their whole body tenses. Then he said, in this sarcastic, mocking tone that genuinely made my skin crawl, "You don't even know what I'm going through. You think you're some big man because you work a job and pay rent. You have no idea what sacrifice is." That was it. Something in me snapped. I yelled back, "Then tell me. For once, just tell me the truth. Tell me what the money is for. Tell me why you're in debt. Tell me what you did. Tell me anything," instead of screaming at me like I owe you the world. He got louder. I didn't think he could go louder, but he did. He yelled, "You don't get to question me. I'm your father. You give when I ask." And I don't know what happened exactly, but something in me just broke and reassembled into anger. I said, "You're not a king. You're not owed money just because you're my parent. If you want help, act like an adult and tell me the truth instead of playing victim to the whole family." He didn't pause. He didn't breathe. He shot back immediately, "You don't deserve to know anything." And I said, "Then you don't deserve my money." Click. He hung up, just like that. No goodbye, no explanation, no attempt to fix anything. The call ended like I had been a telemarketer he was annoyed with. And then, 10 minutes later, he posted one of his dramatic pity posts on Facebook. He always does this when he wants the family's attention. It was something vague about being betrayed by those you love most. My aunt commented something extremely passive-aggressive. Then my uncle liked it. 5 minutes later, my aunt texted me this long lecture about how I humiliated my father, how I spoke to him like a stranger, how I should be ashamed, and how I need to fix what I caused. I didn't hold back. I texted her, "If he stopped lying and stopped manipulating and started acting like a grown adult, none of this would be happening. Don't message me again unless you want the truth." She left me on scene. Not a single word after that. Update 5. So things officially went from annoying family drama to what the hell is happening in my life in less than 12 hours. And yes, this is exactly as ridiculous, humiliating, and overwhelming as it sounds. Because the debt collectors did not show up at my place. They showed up at my grandmother's. I didn't even know anything was happening until my phone blew up while I was in the middle of trying to study. 3 missed calls from my grandmother, 7 from my uncle, 10 from my cousin, and 1 from a random number that immediately screamed scam. I called my grandmother back first. She is crying, full-on shaking voice, telling me that 2 men banged on her door for 5 minutes straight, saying they needed to speak to my father, calling him by his full name like they were reading it off a file. She said they weren't yelling, but they kept insisting she open the door. She didn't. Thank God. She just yelled through the door that my dad didn't live there. Apparently, they didn't believe her. They left only after a neighbor stepped outside and started staring. I'm already furious, confused, anxious, everything all at once. But before I can even get out the sentence, "Are you okay?" my uncle calls again. I pick up, and he immediately starts screaming, not asking what happened, not checking if I was safe, not checking on his own mother, just screaming, "This is your fault. You pushed Leonardo into a corner. You made him desperate. You should have helped instead of acting better than everyone." I said, "How is any of this my fault? I didn't even know he owed people money." He goes, "You know exactly what you did. If you had helped him when he asked, he wouldn't be using your grandmother's address now." I literally laughed, a short, angry, disbelieving laugh, because how the hell does that logic even work? I said, "So you're telling me he uses an address that isn't mine, lies to debt collectors, gets them knocking on his elderly mother's door, and somehow I caused that?" And he yells back, "Yes, because he wouldn't be desperate if you weren't selfish." At this point, I snapped. I just yelled right back, "I'm not responsible for fixing a grown man's disasters. If he's desperate, that's his fault, his choices, his debt, his lies. Don't call me about his mess." Then he said the line that made me lose every last ounce of patience I had left. "Well, someone in this family better step up because you clearly won't." So I said, "That's funny coming from the man who can't even step up to protect his own mother from random men banging on her door." There was a full 5 seconds of silence. Then he starts swearing at me, so I hung up. Immediately afterward, my cousin texts me a long paragraph on WhatsApp saying the whole family group chat is disappointed in me. Disappointed that I let it get this far. Disappointed that my father had to resort to this. Disappointed that I won't be part of the solution. I replied, "I'm disappointed you all think I'm his personal bae." He sends back, "Nice attitude. No wonder he's stressed." I write, "Tell him to stop dragging everyone down with him, and maybe we won't be stressed either." Then I muted the chat. Within an hour, the situation explodes again. My aunt posts on her Facebook, "Some people forget who raised them." Very subtle. 5 comments underneath, all family members, all passive-aggressive. Someone else writes, "Money shows people's true colors." I didn't comment, but my older cousin screenshotted the post and sent it to me on Instagram with, "They're definitely talking about you." No kidding. By the afternoon, My father finally calls me, not to apologize, not to explain, not to check if I or my grandmother was alright. He just immediately starts yelling, "Are you happy now? Are you happy they're going after my mother?" I said, "You put her address on what? What did you even sign? Why would you drag her into your mess?" He said, "I had no choice." I yelled, "You had every choice except using MY or her address. You could have used your workplace address. You could have refused to sign whatever this was, but you chose the easiest option, the one that risked someone else." He yelled louder, "Don't talk to me like I'm stupid." And I said, "Stop acting like I'm the reason your life is a disaster." He went off, screaming, calling me ungrateful, saying I abandoned him, saying the only reason he's in this situation is because everyone turned their backs on him. I yelled right back, "You turned your back on yourself. Stop blaming me because you don't want to admit you screwed up." He hung up on me, but not before throwing one final line. "You're going to regret doing this to your own father." I just sat there staring at the phone like, what is happening? How is this real? How am I suddenly the villain in everyone's version of the story, even though I didn't create any of this? And then my grandmother called again, quietly saying she didn't want to cause trouble. She didn't want me and my father fighting. She didn't want to be in the middle. I told her none of this was her fault. She said, "I just don't understand why they came here." I didn't have an answer. Update 6. I didn't even plan on seeing Marco today. I wasn't answering calls. I wasn't replying to the family group chat. I wasn't even opening Instagram because my aunts love posting cryptic quotes whenever there's drama, and I couldn't take another round of passive-aggressive "family is all we have" captions. But Marco kept calling, over and over. I finally picked up because I thought something happened to my grandmother again. He told me to meet him. He said it wasn't something to say over the phone. His voice was weird, tight, nervous. Marco is usually the chill one in the family. Seeing him on edge freaked me out more than anything else. When we finally talked, he didn't even warm up to it. He just said, "I found out what the money is for. It's not the car." And the way he looked at me when he said it, I knew instantly it was bad. Worse than anything I imagined. I said, "Then what is it?" And he hesitated. Marco never hesitates. He's normally the type to drop bad news without blinking. But he swallowed hard and said, "It's gambling." He didn't sugarcoat it, didn't dress it up, just said it outright like ripping out a nail. Apparently my dad has been gambling for years, but the last few months he went off the deep end. He borrowed money from people he shouldn't have. Not from a bank, not from a loan office. Real people, real consequences. I swear my whole body went cold. I felt this rush of nausea so strong I had to sit down. All the secrecy, the yelling, the guilt trips, the shame, the family whispers, everything locked into place like someone flipped a switch in my brain. I asked Marco how he knew. He said he overheard my uncle and my grandmother arguing earlier. My uncle kept saying things like he's going to get himself hurt and he shouldn't have dragged his mess to her house. And if the family finds out, we're all screwed. They were speaking in half sentences, like they thought if they didn't say the word gambling out loud it wouldn't be real. Then Marco dug deeper on his own. He asked around. One of his co-workers apparently knows one of the men my dad borrowed money from. That's how he confirmed it. And get this, my dad didn't just borrow once. It's multiple debts, layered like a rotten lasagna. Every time he lost, he tried again. Every time he failed, he borrowed more. I asked Marco why no one told me. He said, "Because you're the only one he thinks he can pressure. You have a job. You're responsible. They all hope you'd just pay, and the problem would go away." I swear something in me snapped hearing that. Not in a dramatic, screaming way. Just this internal crack, like a bone quietly breaking. Because suddenly every insult, every manipulation, every vague Facebook post, every guilt message from my aunt, it all made sense. They weren't mad because I was being rude or disrespectful. They were mad because I wasn't behaving the way they needed me to. They needed me to be the scapegoat, the ATM, the sacrificial lamb to fix the mess they didn't want to touch. I asked Marco why my uncle told everyone it was my fault that debt collectors came to my grandmother's house. Marco rolled his eyes so hard I thought they'd fall out. He's trying to shift blame. If you had just given the money like they wanted, they think none of this would be happening. I actually laughed. Not a happy laugh. That ugly, disbelieving type of laugh where you want to scream and punch walls at the same time. I said, "They're insane if they think I'm paying off gambling debts." Marco shrugged and said, "They're desperate. Desperate people start acting like clowns." Then he told me something that sent my blood boiling. He said my dad told the family I was punishing him for past mistakes and refusing to help because I like seeing him suffer. He made me the villain. Me, the one person he targeted because I'm the only one with enough stability to leech off. At that point I lost it. I didn't yell at Marco, but I started ranting. Loud, fast, saying stuff like, he calls me spoiled, he calls me selfish, he calls me dramatic. Meanwhile, he's out here losing money to strangers and dragging the entire family into it. Marco tried to calm me down, but I was too far gone. I said, he screams at me, hangs up on me, manipulates me, posts vague crap online about betrayal, and expects me to fix a mess he created. Marco didn't disagree. He actually said, "You're the only sane person in this circus." That's when my phone buzzed. My aunt. She sent paragraph after paragraph saying it was time for me to step up, that I owed my father compassion, that family doesn't abandon each other in times of need, and that I was making everything worse by refusing to help. I texted back, he doesn't get to bury himself in gambling debt and then demand I clean it up. Tell him to fix his own disasters. I'm not his wallet. She replied, you should be ashamed. I snapped. I wrote, no, you should be ashamed for enabling him. I'm done pretending. I'm not paying a cent. She read it. No reply. Then my uncle chimed in on WhatsApp in the family chat, saying I was cold-hearted and unfilial and ignoring a man fighting for his life. I fired back. He's not fighting for his life. He's hiding from the consequences of his gambling addiction. Stop lying for him. That blew up the chat instantly. People typing over each other, half saying I was rude, half saying I should mind my tone. One cousin saying I needed respect. Another accusing me of speaking like an outsider. I yelled back via voice message because I was done typing. If any of you want to pay his debt, go ahead. But stop messaging me like I'm the villain, because I won't throw my future away for someone who lied to all of us. Marco backed me up, but everyone else kept piling on. I finally muted the whole chat. Marco stayed with me a while longer. I could tell he felt guilty telling me, but I'm glad he did. At least now I know the truth. But knowing the truth doesn't make anything better. It makes everything worse. Update 7. After Marco told me about the gambling debt, I spent hours pacing around my place, replaying every conversation with my dad, every guilt trip, every accusation. I kept trying to make sense of how the man who always lectured me about responsibility could turn around and hide something this huge. I finally snapped and messaged him. I didn't sugarcoat anything. I wrote, I know it's gambling debt. Please talk to me honestly. I can't help if you lie to me. I expected silence. I expected denial. Maybe even another guilt trip. But he responded instantly, like he'd been waiting for me. All he wrote was, I don't want your help anymore. Don't contact me. Before I even processed it, the chat bubble turned gray. Blocked. On WhatsApp. On regular SMS. On calls. On Instagram. On Facebook Messenger. On everything. He actually went through every single platform and blocked me like I was some stranger he met once and didn't vibe with. I just stared at my phone. Not even angry at first. Just stunned. Because this wasn't an argument or a disagreement. This was him cutting me off because I didn't agree to hand over thousands of euros to cover for his secret gambling problem. I tried calling from my work phone. Blocked. I tried calling from my grandmother's landline. Blocked. He is actively avoiding me like I'm the one who caused all this. 10 minutes after the blocks, my Aunt Louisa messaged me a long paragraph that basically said, he's hurt. You pushed him to this. He feels attacked by you. No wonder he doesn't want to talk. You keep making everything about money. I snapped. I wrote back, you're defending a man who lied to all of us, put nonstop pressure on me, dragged the entire family into his mess, and then ran away the moment he got caught. Tell me again how this is my fault. She responded, lower your tone. He is still your father. I replied, then maybe he should act like one. She didn't answer after that. 5 minutes later, my Uncle Johnny called me, yelling so loudly I had to hold the phone away from my ear. He started screaming, what did you say to him? He's devastated. He said you insulted him and humiliated him. You need to apologize. I yelled back. He blocked me. How am I supposed to apologize to someone who won't even let me speak? Uncle Johnny said, you shouldn't have said anything about gambling. That was private. I lost it. Private? He dragged debt collectors to Nana's house. He lied to every single one of you. He tried to bully me into paying thousands. And you want me to pretend nothing happened? He yelled, you don't talk to your elders like that. And I said, then your elders shouldn't dump their problems onto their kids and expect silence. He hung up on me. Then, as if this circus needed one more act, my dad posted some cryptic trash on Instagram stories. Just a black background with, some people only love you when you're useful. Naturally, my family jumped on it. My aunt commented something like, stay strong. The truth always comes out. My uncle reposted it. My grandmother, bless her, called me in tears because everyone online is saying something is happening. She asked if she did something wrong, and that made me even angrier at him because he doesn't care who gets hurt as long as he gets attention. Then Elena messaged me on WhatsApp again with, they're all losing their minds over his Instagram story. They're acting like you stabbed him. Ignore them. They don't want to admit he's in the wrong. I told her I'm exhausted because that's the truth. I feel drained, completely empty, like I've been screaming underwater. My dad has turned this into some dramatic war. He has the entire family foaming at the mouth defending him, and I'm sitting here blocked on every platform like I'm the villain in a story I didn't even write. Update 8. My grandmother, the calmest, quietest, most level-headed person in the entire family, decided she couldn't take the drama anymore. She called me yesterday and said she wanted to have everyone over to her place for what she called a family conversation, but everyone knew it was basically an intervention for my dad. She said she wanted to bring peace back to the family. I didn't argue. I just said fine, because at this point I'm exhausted and I figured maybe if the whole family was there, he'd stop spinning lies and finally tell the truth. He didn't show up. Not only did he not show up, he didn't even message me. He messaged my Aunt Rosa, who arrived late and dramatic as always, walked in like she had some kind of breaking news announcement, and then showed everyone her phone. The message from my dad said, "If my son hadn't abandoned me, none of this would be happening. I don't need a lecture from people who never supported me." Everyone went silent, like full, weird, cold silence where everyone's eyebrows shot up at the same time. My grandmother looked heartbroken. She had set out snacks. She vacuumed. She brought out chairs from the back room. She lit a candle. She tried so hard, and he couldn't even bother to show up. My Aunt Rosa turned to me and said, "You see what you've done? He's falling apart because you humiliated him." I lost it. I said, "I humiliated him? He's the one lying to everyone, hiding gambling debt, sending collectors to his own mother's house, screaming at me for not handing over money without explanation, and now you're blaming me." She raised her voice immediately. Classic Rosa. She said, "You were supposed to help him. A good son helps his father in a time of need." I shot back, "A good father doesn't manipulate his kid, Rosa. A good father doesn't rack up thousands in gambling debt and expect his son to pay like it's a monthly subscription." My uncle Luigi tried to jump in, pointing at me like he was scolding a child, saying, "Watch your tone. We're talking about your father." And I yelled, "Then maybe he should start acting like one." My grandmother actually had to step between us because Rosa looked like she wanted to slap me. Then my aunt said the dumbest thing she could have possibly said. "Maybe if you apologize, he'll calm down." I literally laughed. I said, "I'm not apologizing to someone who lies, manipulates, screams at me, blocks me, and blames me for his addiction." She said, "You don't understand what he's going through." I yelled, "Because he refuses to tell me, and you all enable it." The room went dead silent again. My grandmother finally spoke, and her voice was shaking, which made everyone shut up instantly. She said, "Enough. This is not my grandson's fault. Leonardo's problems are Leonardo's doing." Rosa actually rolled her eyes. I snapped again. I said, "Keep rolling your eyes, Rosa. You're just mad he came to me last because you already told him no. Don't act like you're some saint. He begged all of you before he even looked at my number." She exploded. "That's a lie." "It's not," I said. "Marco told me everything. He asked at least 5 people before me." You could see it hit her. Her face changed instantly. Then she grabbed her purse dramatically like she was storming out of a soap opera scene, muttered something about disrespect, and left. My uncle followed her. My grandmother just sighed and told me she was sorry things were getting so ugly. She said she wished she could fix everyone, but she can't. I told her it wasn't her job. Before I left, she grabbed my hand and said quietly, "Don't let them make you carry guilt that isn't yours." I didn't say anything back because if I did, I might have cried. Once I got home, I checked my phone. My dad hadn't unblocked me, but he did post another vague Facebook update about being betrayed twice in one lifetime. My aunt commented, "Of course." I didn't answer. Update 9. The debt collectors at my grandmother's house apparently acted as a massive wake-up call for the rest of the family. I didn't see it coming, honestly. I half expected them to keep blaming me, keep messaging me, keep calling me selfish and unfilial. But no, suddenly, all the anger that was directed at me started landing squarely on him. My uncle Luigi was the first to confront him. I wasn't there for it, but Marco filled me in via voice notes that were nearly an hour long, full of yelling and screaming. Apparently, Luigi went over there and started asking questions like, "Why did you think it was okay to use grandmother's address? Why did you hide the debts from everyone? Do you even realize what you've dragged all of us into?" And my dad, Leo, I keep thinking of him as Leo now because I'm too tired to even process father in a normal way, apparently completely lost it. He screamed at Luigi that the entire family was conspiring against him, that nobody understood him, that everyone was jealous of his independence, and that they were trying to ruin his life because he refused to be a pawn in someone else's moral game. Marco said the yelling went on for over 20 minutes. He described it as like a hurricane of nonsense, but worse, because it's real and in your family. I was actually a little relieved, not because he was screaming, obviously, but because finally, someone was telling him off and holding him accountable for the chaos he created. I kept thinking back to all the Facebook posts, all the Instagram stories, all the guilt texts from my aunts, and now it was like the scales were tipping. Even the cousins got involved. My cousin Elena, who had always been a neutral party, started calling him out on Snapchat group messages. She wrote long paragraphs explaining that dragging collectors to grandmother's house, lying about debts, and guilt-tripping everyone in the family was not strategic or mature. It was reckless, selfish, and dangerous. He didn't take it well. He started messaging them directly in group chats, calling them traitors, backstabbers, a family of liars, and people who will regret crossing me. Of course, every single one of them yelled right back. At one point, Elena sent me a voice note with her yelling at him. I kid you not, over 3 minutes long. She was screaming, "You are the one who gambled away your money. You are the one who lied. You are the one who put my grandmother in danger. How dare you turn around and call us the villains?" And he just screamed over the voice note, yelling back like a madman. bad man. You only want money from me. You all betrayed me. You're incapable of understanding sacrifice, of understanding family loyalty. I listened to the entire back and forth, and at one point, I just yelled into my empty apartment. Yes, finally, someone's calling you out. Then I realized I sounded insane because I was alone yelling at my phone. But the escalation didn't stop there. Apparently, my uncle Luigi took it further and went to a local notary or something to verify the debts and the collector's claims, and when my dad found out, he accused him of coordinating an ambush, public shaming, and trying to ruin his life. And now, the cherry on top, he's isolating himself. No calls, no messages, nothing. He's basically holed up in his apartment, posting vague Instagram stories about betrayal and family treachery, which only fuels the rest of the family gossiping about him. Meanwhile, the family group chat is filled with clips of news articles about debt collectors, screenshots of bank statements that my uncle Luigi managed to get hold of, and endless back and forth accusations. I actually got tagged in some of them, not in a mean way this time, but to keep me in the loop, and it was surreal. People were actually saying, "You were right not to give him money. We finally see what he's done." And part of me felt relieved. Like, finally, someone sees the situation clearly. Update 10. My grandmother, in a last-ditch effort to stop everything from completely imploding, scheduled it. She roped in the entire family, my uncles, aunts, cousins, Marco, and of course my dad. Everyone except Rosa, who refused to participate and sent passive-aggressive texts about how disrespectful this was. I was sitting in my living room, laptop open, fingers gripping the edge of the table like I was bracing for a hurricane. And there he was, Leo, staring at the camera with this weird, twisted mix of anger and self-pity. The first 5 minutes were him rambling about betrayal, how everyone was conspiring against him, and how I abandoned my father in his darkest hour. I stayed silent, letting him yell. I knew yelling back immediately would be pointless. Then my uncle Luigi, who had finally seen the light after the debt collectors showed up at Nana's, leaned into the screen and said, "No, Leonardo, you lied. You had gambling debts. You dragged your family into your mess. And you blamed your son for refusing to fund it. That's the reality." My dad froze. He blinked rapidly, probably trying to decide if he wanted to explode or retreat. My cousin Elena, who had been furious for weeks but stayed mostly out of the crossfire until now, cut in. "You've been manipulating everyone. You've been posting pity stories, sending guilt texts, and screaming at everyone who refused to fund your mistakes. This isn't about family honor. It's about your gambling problem and your lies." I couldn't hold myself back anymore. I leaned forward, my voice shaking from adrenaline. "You lied. You screamed at me. You guilt-tripped me. You dragged debt collectors to Nana's house. And when I refused to pay, you blocked me, insulted me, and made me the villain. I will not, have not, and will not pay for your stupidity." There was a silence on the call. You could feel it. My dad's mouth was moving, but no words came out. He looked genuinely shocked that someone had actually confronted him. Someone wasn't buying his act. Someone wasn't afraid of his yelling. Then he snapped again, the classic Leo explosion. "You're ungrateful. You're selfish. You think you're better than the family. You care more about your bank account than your father." I yelled, "I care more about my future and my sanity than enabling your addiction. If being honest and refusing to fund your lies makes me selfish, fine. Call me that all you want. But I'm done. I'm done being bullied by my own father." Marco jumped in, almost yelling at him as well. "You've isolated yourself. You've ruined trust. You've dragged debt collectors to your mother's house. You're alone in this, Leo. Don't pretend you're the victim anymore." My dad went red, sputtering, trying to yell over both of us. My grandmother finally spoke, her calm but firm voice cutting through. "Leonardo, stop. You need help. You've done this to yourself. And the only person who tried to hold you accountable was your son. He refused to fund your lies because he loves you enough to not let you destroy him. Stop blaming him." Something in my dad broke. I could see it in his eyes. Not remorse, not real apology, but a crack, a flash of recognition that, maybe for the first time, someone wasn't going to let him manipulate the narrative. After nearly 10 minutes of yelling, arguing, and insults flying across the call, he finally slumped back in his chair and muttered something that sounded like, "Fine, I'll deal with it myself." And then he left the call, just like that. No goodbye, no I'm sorry, nothing. The rest of the family sat in stunned silence. Elena let out a long sigh. Marco just shook his head. My grandmother looked relieved but tired, like she had aged 10 years in the last 10 minutes. The end. Leonardo didn't ask for help. He demanded 4,500 euros like you were his personal slush fund, refused to explain a word, then threw a screaming, blocking, pity-posting tantrum when you said no. Turns out it was gambling debt, not an emergency. He lied to everyone, dragged collectors to grandma's door, and weaponized the whole family to guilt you into paying for his addiction. They called you selfish, ungrateful, and unfilial until the truth came out. Then suddenly they were mad at him instead. Did AITA? NTA, you didn't abandon your dad. You refuse to bankroll his self-destruction. Boundaries aren't betrayal. Enabling is. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Got a story to share? Drop it in the comments and let us know which one was your favorite. If you enjoyed this video, you'll definitely want to check out AITA for telling my sister she's insane over a hairbrush receipt. Click here to watch it now.